Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast, where business owners learn to thrive as we strive. On this show, we sit down with industry-leading experts about developing self-awareness, impacting your niche, and striving to live the best life possible. Our mission is to encourage ambitious pursuits in a heart-healthy way through intentional conversation and increasing self-awareness. Why heart healthy? Because burnout and stress are global epidemics. We're discussing tools that help you to navigate business ownership successfully. So whether you're driving to or from work right now, exercising, eating, or simply relaxing, come hang out and get ready to enjoy another inspiring episode of the Heart Healthy Hustle Show. Welcome back to another inspiring episode of the Heart Healthy Hustle Show. I'm your host, Jonathan Frederick. Today's episode, we are with an entrepreneur from Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, not too far from where I grew up, near Philly. We're going to be talking with Abigail Daniels, the founder of Dawn and Dusk Donuts, Coffee, and Cream. They serve up coffee and custom donuts with flavors like strawberries and cream, blueberry basil, and cinnamon sugar with Nutella and sea salt. The venture Dawn and Dusk Donuts is housed in a customized camper trailer. When I saw what Abigail was up to, I really wanted to have her on the show to share with you guys. She's also a Business Administration Marketing student. So Abby, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
We'd start out the show with a favorite success quote or a saying you live by. So go ahead and share what you got with the audience.
I am a huge quote fan, so I have lots, but one of my favorites is the most simple. It's by Henry Ford, and it says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. And I just realized that we are the ones that limit ourselves, not the other way around. Yeah.
I'm interested to hear a brief story of how you started Dawn and Dusk. You are young, so share with the audience your age and then just go into how it all got started for you.
I'm 22. The LLC officially started when I was 21. That's when I got the business license. But a lot of it, I spent the last summer in Portland, Oregon, and I got to experience just a whole different kind of food service. And when you go there, their food's very artisan and they have so much competition. And I just saw a whole nother level, especially of donut making. And they have donut places like Blue Star and Pips. And their donuts weren't the typical gas station donuts. They were artisan donuts. And I was like, I think this is just amazing. And I love baked goods and I love to bake and I love getting to deliver outstanding customer service. And so I really just want an opportunity to do it the way that I wanted to do it. And so when I came back from the summer, I told my dad, I really want to do a food truck. Like, let's try and figure out. And we chose a food truck because very little startup costs, small overhead, and it's something that I can put away and get back out when I need to. And I could be a student while doing it, and I won't have to have monthly rent and things like that. My dad was able to find the trailer he found it online, like on Craigslist, and it was like a crazy thing. He found it for an insanely good price. And then my Christmas break was spent renovating it, and then my spring break was spent with him renovating it. And like as I was doing that, when I would go to school on the weekends, I would work on licensures and figuring out, I did a ton of interviews with college students and with professors and with friends, just figuring out what are people really looking for when they go out to eat? Like, why do we go out to eat? Why do we choose this place over that place? Because initially you'd think I have a great product, so it's going to be do well. At least that's what I thought. But through so much, like my business mentors and other people talking to me, I realized it's so much more about an experience, especially with all the competition that we have nowadays. And so I really wanted to create that with my product. And then we slowly but surely acquired the things that we felt like we needed, the name and the logo and developing the product better and the coffee. And yeah, now here we are.
What was the process like with renovating that trailer? When you got it, was it gutted? Was it in pretty decent shape? You just had to paint it? What did that look like to outfit it for food?
It was a family trailer, a family camper. And so we completely gutted it. My dad renovated everything, like put in all stainless steel and made countertops and we had to put a 3-bay sink and a fridge. And it was very, very, very hard. And I broke my foot. So we had a really hard time both fitting in there and working and things like that. But he helped so much. And then we had to follow a bunch of health department regulations. That was fun, trying to read over and be like, what is this? Okay, let's Google and install it. And it was really fun.
So you're 22. So what year are you in your studies? Are you about wrapping up your degree or are you still midway?
Yes, I have one more semester left.
Okay, so you're currently, you've gone through all of those classes at this point. I'm sure that you've learned a lot in school. You sound like a very proactive student. With Dawn and Dusk, though, I'm curious to hear how much of a learning experience, what was the velocity of learning with starting this business compared to the velocity of learning in college?
It's a great question. I think growing up, I was always taught that wisdom is knowing what to do and then doing it. And I think I'm learning a little bit. I'm just starting to begin to learn a little bit of business wisdom in the sense that at Liberty, I transferred from Liberty, so I was able to learn lots of different business principles, and you learn how to make books and give customer experience. But then doing your own, you learn what that actually practically looks like on such a small level. At Liberty, you learn a lot about what corporate America would look like. Okay, I'm a marketing major, so I learned a lot of what it would look like to do a marketing campaign for a company with $1 billion budget. And if you think about it, it is realistic because that happens. But it was really cool to learn, okay, I only have this amount of money to do this thing and I have to make it work. And I think that I'm learning just a lot more of what does that actually look like in real world situations.
I'm really curious to hear how that transition went. You're currently in it, I guess. So did you have mentors along the way? I know you mentioned before you were interviewing a bunch of fellow students, professors, probably other business owners. So what was that process like and when you were garnering all of that information?
Well, something really cool is when I said I wanted to do the food truck, I started to pray about it and prayed. I was like, Lord, you're going to have to open up doors because I have no idea. I just didn't even know how to, I Googled how to start a business in Virginia. Even as a business major, I had no idea how that process even looked. And that semester I joined a club called the Founders. And it's like an entrepreneurship club at Liberty. And it was awesome. And we had sessions each week talking about what it would look like to run a small business and why you are starting a small business. What is your purpose behind it? And they have a competition in December that I competed in, and it was called Spark Tank, and which is similar to Shark Tank. So you have 3 judges and you present your idea, and the winner got $1,000. And so between the months of October and December, they assign you a business mentor. And my business mentor really encouraged me to do a lot of things right that I would have maybe figured out, but he was able to help me so much in the sense of, his name's Jonathan Witt, and he's an administrator at Liberty. And he was like, maybe you need to interview people. You need to make sure you try to get 25 interviews a week, 50 interviews a week. And then he would tell me what about this? Just throwing out ideas and making me think through who are you? What would it look like for you to start a business? Don't try to be that business. And I think that was essential. If I didn't have that, and he helped me with connections as well, meeting the right people at Liberty so that I could be a campus vendor and things like that. And I just think that mentorship is one of the greatest resource that we have as a business owners, as people.
So once that mentorship came to a close, what did that transition look like from the mentorship ending to now you're on your own and you got to do it all completely by yourself, go off what you know? What did that look like?
I once heard that if you're at the top and you're alone, then you're doing it wrong. And something that I realized is you can do a business alone for sure, but it's extremely lonely and you're not going to be the best business that you could, because I think the best ideas come with collaboration. Mm-hmm. And so definitely not alone. My dad and my sister, my family, all in general, I have a big family. They all helped me so much, but I think it became more, I had to intentionally seek out mentors. So I would meet with teachers, I met with professors multiple times in the next semester. Yep. I continued meeting with Jonathan sometimes. And I think it just looked differently and not as scheduled, but that it became more intentional to seek them out and ask other people's advice. One
thing I love about having the guests on this show is that, they're proactive like yourself. So there are no rules. For me growing up, I always had a lot of misconceptions. One of them being always go by the book, go by the date. But it's if you're a business owner, there are no rules, so to speak. Of course, you want to live morally. I'm talking about the schedule is over, but now you can do it yourself. No one says you can't ask for help. You can't do this with others, share this with your family. And I think that is a freeing thing, to be willing to jump in with both feet, but also realize that you can ask people to go with you as you jump. Going into running the business, I'm curious to hear. Actually, the interview I launched today was with another guy who's 22 years old. There are other people your age who don't have the level of self-esteem or confidence, perhaps, and they're trying to do this. and they may have misconceptions. Maybe they do have a good head on their shoulders and they're working hard, but they may be a little bit fearful, like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. And your business is doing great. What would you say to a peer who may be watching what you're up to? You may not be aware that they're keeping track with what you're doing, but they're like really inspired by what you're doing. What would you share with them to encourage them to keep going and to do it with confidence?
I think something I'm noticing in myself and a lot in people my age and even people older than me is a fear of failure and a fear of hard work. And I think for me, I'm more afraid of all the work it involves, but I'm like, oh, that just seems, it overwhelms me. But when I talk to a lot of people, they're willing to work. It's the fear that it won't go well. And I think when I started this business, a lot of people advised me that I couldn't fail because I'm not doing this. Like, fortunately, I don't right now have to own reliable, I live relatively cheap and I am able to live at school. So I don't have to pay for my food right now. And other than I already paid for it, and I couldn't, and if it did really well, then I was able to have an income. And so that's kind of how I tried to look at it. Like, no matter what, I can't fail. And I just read a quote recently by Theodore Roosevelt called The Man in the Arena. And it talks about I'd rather be the person that's striving so hard and blood and sweaty that tried. And I think that's just the attitude that we have to go into life of I'm going to give everything I have and not leave anything left, because I think if we allow the fear of failure, we could just miss out on something wonderful and something really good. But looking at failure of what's the worst that could happen? Oh, your business doesn't do well and nobody likes it. Okay, well then what can you do better next time? Yes. And I think that's the attitude we have to go into it as, instead of a rejection of the business as a rejection of myself. So I say go for it. I think we need, someone once told me, you have to ask, there's a time to say wow and a time to say how. And so I just got to meet with some friends and he's thinking about opening up a truck. And I was just do it. What can I do to help? And you're going to have so much fun. So I would encourage them.
Fantastic. That is how that's how I get anything done, is to ask what, and a lot of people situation maybe, where they came into it man, I'm so scared to start this. And then I kind of, like you said, you ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? That is my favorite question because, because you can't lose. If you go into something with, okay, no matter what happens, I still learn, I still help people, I still have fun, I still grow immensely, you're going to win. It's a win-win-win. You can't lose. Of course, don't go into $100,000 in debt or something, but even then you can work your way out of that. So,
yeah. And I think something really cool though is that almost every entrepreneur, every amazing company that you can name, the entrepreneur behind it had 10 failures before. And I think that was really encouraging to me. I was this is only my first failure. I have a few more to go until I hit the big time.
I like that Theodore Roosevelt quote. That's one of the things that got me started with this podcast initially, was that arena quote. So share with the audience your current greatest success with the food truck and your greatest failure or struggle.
Okay. Well, the food truck is very new. We've been operating since May. And so it's just been this summer, but it's been my primary job this summer. And the business model that I've developed is for college students and for commuters. And so I was of Liberty University in the Virginia area. And so when I moved back home for the summer, I was so worried about how it would do. I was I don't think the people of Waynesboro are going to really want artisan donuts. And we just know how to have a coffee shop in our town. So I was I just don't know how it's going to do. And it is amazing. People just do not cease to amaze me in the sense of the people that have rallied behind us. And we've been in the paper once a week. And we've done so many events, an event almost once a week. And it's just been so cool to see the people we've been able to meet and engage with and be supported by in our small community, despite me thinking it wouldn't do well. And one really cool thing is our town started a farmer's market for the very first time in 15 years. Wow. And the farmer's market, and we live in a relatively small town, but the farmer's market has been consistent in having hundreds and hundreds of people come every single Saturday. And that has been our biggest sales day. But also it's been so cool because I think we've been able to be a blessing to the other vendors, because people will come because we're just featured in the paper. People come because of that. But also, they've been a blessing to us because we get to have a relationship with some amazing entrepreneurs that make soap and that grow flowers and that make coffee. And so that's been really cool. That's our greatest success, I think, so far. I think inspections has been hard because it's very hard in a small truck to have everything you need and also be like all the regulations that you have to abide by as such a small vehicle is very difficult. But I think the biggest struggle has been the everyday and the process of it. And I think I loved creating the brand, and I loved meeting people. I love all those things.
Right.
But I'm not a huge fan of being up till like 2 or 3 in the morning making glazes, or waking up so early to brew 10 pots of coffee because we don't have an industrial coffee maker, things like that. And it's felt more lonely, even though we have a huge, amazing team. It's like, not a huge team, but a big team. Just, it's hard to be content and to be excited in the everyday. But I think something that's really cool is that you have to be faithful, and that's working hard, and where I think the rubber meets the road, because you can have a great idea, you can have a great business, but you have to work really, really, really hard. And that's been so fun to learn that side of entrepreneurship. Well, me and my sister, who is my partner in running it, and she's been like the biggest blessing, and that's why I think you need to do a business with someone. It makes it a lot better to do it with someone, because we've been able to encourage each other. But I think waking up so early for us and working so hard, it gets like very lonely and very tiring. And so I think it's been hard to find excitement and joy in the everyday when you kind of just feel like, what am I really, and you're not making money. I mean, you're making money, and that's been really exciting. But right now, all the money we make, we've been putting back into the company to make it better. And so it's like, as we make money, it's kind of like, okay, this is like really great, we're making money, but we're not really seeing much. And so you just have to work really hard. And that's been really good for us. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. How do you source your supplies? How do you set up your schedule? Is it a lot of mayhem? In other words, how do you semi-organize everything to work out to where if somebody orders a specific type of donut, you can provide that at that time?
That's a good question. We're still trying to figure out all of our, like if we're going to wholesale from this place, do all those things. But we make glazes once a week so that they're as fresh as possible. And then we offer 6 donuts always, so 6 different toppings and flavors. And then our donuts are all made to order. So we get there. It takes 30 minutes to get the oil and pump out the first batch of donuts. And then after that, anytime someone orders, we top them the way that they want. So they'll order like 6 strawberries and cream, 3 strawberries and cream, 3 Fruity Pebbles, and then we make them right there. We buy a lot of our ingredients. Right now we've been buying from Sam's Club, and that's how we've like been buying in bulk for a ton of our ingredients as well as supplies. And then we shop at we ship from the restaurant store in Pennsylvania, and we've been buying our boxes and things like that from there. But we're still trying to figure out what's the best box. We've been testing out different kinds of this, different kinds of that. And so it's been a very fun trial and error process. We figured out our system pretty well inside the truck as far as that organization goes.
Anyone who is running a business in the food industry or food truck even, I'm sure are relating with what you just shared. In the day-to-day when it gets tough, what would you say to a lonely entrepreneur who is in that phase of they're doing the work day-to-day? There's no question the work's getting done. But like you said, you have to reinvest everything back into the business. So yes, it's exciting, but then it's also, but we don't get a paycheck or whatever that is. So, like you have a greater vision for it. In the meantime, you have to just work, and that's it. So you can share one of your, like a number one tip for connecting with other entrepreneurs. I
think connecting with other entrepreneurs is amazing because community, I think, is one of the most important things that keeps us going. But I think for me, something that I kept being reminded to ask myself by my business mentor, Jonathan, and like other people in my family, and something my family, especially my sister Ellen, really keeps me on top of, is asking yourself why you're doing it. And I think because if you really want to make a lot of money, I think it is a great way because you get to control the funds, especially if you have a high profit margin product. But if you want to make really good money, it's probably better to have safety and, insurance and things like that. It's probably better to just get a job at a really great place. And so I think I had to remind myself, money is the way that I keep getting to do what I love, but I love getting to serve people. I love donuts, and I love getting to do it the way that I want to do it. And I think we're all just trying to love people and serve people. And this is just the way that I do it. And I think reminding myself of that about the why versus all the products and the benefits that I'm seeing. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned you were connecting with a lot of entrepreneurs at the farmers market in particular. So is that just you guys at the end of the day getting out of the trucks, talking to each other? What does that look like?
Something another food truck owner told me that lives at Liberty. His name's Joe Hendricks. He does a shaved ice truck, and he told me always, if you're ever working with other food truck owners, don't be afraid to be like, hey, can I get you a free donut? How are you doing? Always make sure you meet the people that you're working with. And I think that I was tempted to view them almost as competition, but it's not like that at all. It's a really great community to get to be involved in. And so we give out free donuts and we have extra ones at the end of the day, and we meet them and we get to work with them. We've served the coffee places coffee once or twice, and they come to us every Wednesday. And so it's been really cool to see that relationship, but it's one of mutual respect, but also we get to benefit one another. It's not just, it's like we're in the same space and we get to bless each other because of that, not just we're going to be nice to each other because we're in the same space.
Right.
That's why I love business too. Because you're friends, but you get to be friends because you need each other too.
Right. Cool. So let's jump into the Heart Healthy Hustle round. So Abby, I'm going to ask you a series of rapid fire questions pertaining to the title of the show, Heart, Health, and Hustle. So are you ready for the Heart Healthy Hustle round?
Yes, I think so.
So hopefully you got some coffee and donuts in you, because the first category is heart. So what activity do you use to care for and strengthen your internal character?
I have to have usually an hour to myself a day to think and pray and read and to just internalize all my thoughts and what I'm thinking and get me grounded, it seems like. So I think that would be my heart. But I also think I need time with my family and time to delight. And I think that's doing things that you love, not things that you consider work, a little bit every day, even if I can just spare 30 minutes.
So how important would you say that is, your hour? Do you prioritize that?
Yes, I think it sets a precedent for the whole day. It can make a huge, huge difference. But I think it reminds me of who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I want to treat the people around me, where everything else can just be like this knee-jerk bad reaction if I don't have it.
Absolutely. For health, just moving on to the health category, how do you maintain your physical health and avoid burning out in all of this? Late nights, early mornings, long days. Share with the audience some of your tips there.
Oh, that is so important. I am a big advocate for 7 to 8 hours a night. And I think that's been a lot harder, but I've still been had to be strict and say no to a lot of things because I need to figure out how I can go to bed earlier so I can wake up really early or wake up a little later. So that's been really hard, and I have not been able to get that much sleep. But something I found is that I eat extremely healthy, even though I have a donut truck and coffee and ice cream. Outside the truck, I stay away from most dairy and I try to not eat too much meat and things like that. So I realized I need to take care of my body if I want it to take care of me. So that's been a really big, hard struggle the past few years of my life because I love those things and I'm around those things all day, but I realized that my energy is going to crash if I don't. So I do that, and then I love to run and I love to bike and I love yoga. So I do all those things to keep myself healthy.
So for hustle, the question is, what's your main motivation for doing what you do, for reaching the max of your potential?
Something in our Founders Club we learned is that the Lord blesses us to be a blessing, and it's never just for us. And I feel like I'm committed to love the Lord and love people, and I think business is the way that I've chosen I want to do that. And so I think my why is by offering a product that's really amazing and causes people to love. They just people really like donuts. And I think when I see people get excited about it, and it's so cool because I feel like I just got to bless someone and I get to do what I love to do. So I think that would be the why, is business is the way that I get to just love people and get to meet people and get to serve people.
What's the name of your blueberry donut?
It's a blueberry basil donut, and sometimes we put a lemon whipped cream on it, which is pretty amazing. But we just name it blueberry basil.
Unreal. That is creative, and it sounds delicious. What do you think at your current position? You said you're in the local news once a week. Why do you think that is happening, and what is it about what you guys are doing that you think is garnering that attention?
I think people love stories. And I think we were made for stories. And so I think it's so cool that we've been able to connect with people and we've been able to just have a relationship. And I think that's really cool when people feel like they can have a relationship with a product. And I mean, we're local, like we're from Waynesboro. And so I think I interviewed someone at Liberty and he said, sometimes I just want an everyday adventure. And when I heard that, I was like, I love that. And that's something that I want to be for people, is an everyday adventure. And we try to do that by the way that we treat our customers, but also in the products that we offer. So we have a new feature of the week, and we try to keep things fresh and exciting, even though staying with the consistent things, because I think people are looking for that. Like, we want adventure and we want excitement in our lives, and that can be through a multiple of different ways. And so we just think we're one way that we can give people that.
Cool. Share with the audience your 3 most influential books and why.
One is super simple, Butterfly Effect by Andy Andrews, and he talks about how little things that we do can have huge repercussions in the future. And it's all a theory, but I think for me that's really cool to realize, wow, just by doing this one little thing every day, or just by doing this small little food truck in this small town, how it's been able to even have an effect hours and hours away and get to influence and inspire people. And so I think that's one that I would choose. Love Does by Bob Goff. Such a fun read, but also I think gives a lightheartedness to something that's very, very serious, which is, our lives and living our lives and how to live well and how to love people well. And then the third one, I think, one that really helped me was Lean Startup. That was recommended to me by another business mentor. And that's been so influential in starting my business, because it says, start with what you can and then keep improving and keep asking people. So it talks about having a humility in business, but also being okay with not being perfect when you present your product. And I think that requires humility in itself. And so I think for me, that's been so good to just start the truck versus waiting another year to interview more people and figure out more. And it helps me even today by being like, I'm not sure if this is the best, but let's do it and let's get feedback and then make it better. So those would be the 3 that I would recommend right now.
So I've read Love Does, and I have not read You said Lean Startup, Lean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're about coming up on the conclusion of the show. What are some of your favorite tech or software tools that you recommend using? So this could be Stripe or software that you guys use to accept payment. This could be bookkeeping software.
Yeah, that's something I'm still learning. I mean, Excel is my best friend, but I'm using Square, which Square's been really, really good they do really good data analytics. That's been so fun to see best-selling products, worst-selling products, best time of day, things like that. But they do take a percentage, like 2.75%. And so I'm still figuring out the card reader. But currently I'm using Square and I am happy with it. So that'd probably be my favorite.
Cool. Square, yeah, it's a good one.
Jonathan, can you hear me?
Yeah, Abby, can hear you.
Jonathan?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hi, could you ask that again?
Yeah, no problem. I'm sorry about that. That's probably the internet. That happens to me sometimes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I was just saying that the favorite part of the show for me is the last question. It's the park bench paradigm, I call it. Yeah, it's crazy, right? I asked this question typically to older guests who may be a little bit older, like in at least 30. And if they're not around at least 30, I usually change the question up. So instead of asking you if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self and why? I'll ask you, what is your biggest or largest unfounded insecurity right now, in relation to your business?
So explain unfounded to me one more time.
So for example, I had a guest on and he said his biggest insecurity right now is money, even though he was making net profits over $30,000 a month with his businesses. He had multiple streams of income, quite high to some, so others maybe not, but he's a single guy operation. And he was saying, I know money's not an issue, but for me, it's his largest insecurity right now. So essentially, it's just, there's not really any reason for the insecurity, but you still are dealing with it at this time.
Okay. I'm not sure. One of my biggest insecurities and something I'm realizing is that I'm scared that this is the best it's going to get, in the sense of, this has been so fun starting this business and doing it. And we have had a lot of success, and that's been so amazing. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm scared that I want to start lots of businesses and I want to keep growing. And so I'm sometimes scared that I'm never going to have success like this in other ventures. I'm like, this is my first one and it went really well. and I was like, yeah. So I think that would probably be one of my biggest one.
I can relate to that, and I totally understand where you're coming from. Do you want to take a moment to acknowledge you, and your team, your family, everybody who's involved with what you're doing? I know you've already, tried to divert the attention to everybody who's kind of has your back, and you guys all work together. So that's great. But I also want to acknowledge you for what you're doing, for inspiring other people, both younger and older than you, and for working hard and having a noble why as to why you're doing all this. And I'm excited to try the blueberry donut when I am in Virginia next. So that'll be great.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And thanks for doing this. I think this is such a cool podcast, getting to connect entrepreneurs, and it's been so encouraging so far. So thank you.
Happy to have you on the show. And what's the best way the audience can get in contact with you and keep track with what you're up to?
We have Facebook and Instagram for Dawn and Dusk Donuts. The website is currently under construction, just Dawn and Dusk Donuts. And if you message me on there, direct message me, anything like that, then you'll get me.
Thank you for listening to the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I want to say thank you. And also, I want you to ask yourself why. What about this episode really stood out to you? I want to challenge you to take action on that thing. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate your time and consideration to go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes, so it really helps the podcast grow and we can impact even more people who need this. Thank you guys for all of your support, and I will see you in the next episode.